Here's how I ended up accidentally working in a vegetable packing factory. Let me explain. So a younger version of me, 20 something years ago, was desperate to get a job in retail. And I tried so hard. I put my resume in everywhere, but nobody wanted to hire me because I didn't have experience. And one of the stores that I had applied for was called Rivers. Now, they're not exactly my type of clothing store, especially back then. Back then it was mainly like high-vis, workwear sort of clothes. But I was desperate for any kind of retail job and I would have happily worked there. And I got a phone call from a man saying that he was from Rivers and he got my number and he wanted me to come in for a job interview, and I was so excited. I was finally gonna get to work in a store. So I went out, bought myself a whole new outfit, a nice dress shirt, some nice pants. I didn't even have time to get the pants taken up because the job interview was the next day. So the nice person in the store actually got some masking tape out and masked the inside of the pants just to make them fit right. And I was feeling good. I was ready to go for my first ever interview at a clothing store. So the address that the guy had given me for the interview was in Werribee South. Now Werribee South, even to this day, right now, is all farmland. And I had put the address into my TomTom. Remember, I'm old, didn't have Google Maps back then. I get to Werribee South and I'm looking around with confusion, trying to figure out why I'm going for a interview at a retail store at a place that's covered in farmland. It didn't really make sense. And I get to where the interview was supposed to be at and I just see this big factory building and I start rationalizing in my head, this must be their head office. Maybe this is where they keep all of their clothes and I'm gonna go and speak to someone from head office. And I walk into the factory and I'm looking around, I'm seeing fruit and veggies everywhere and it's not adding up. It doesn't make sense, but I'm still in denial. And I go and ask somebody where the office is and they point me in the direction of this small office that's up a flight of metal stairs, and I walk up the flight of metal stairs and I'm met with a smile of a guy in this little office. And the first thing that he says to me is, "You are hands down the most dressed up person I have ever seen in here. You must really want this job." And at this point, I'm really confused. I'm like, what is going on here? And I say to him, "Is this Rivers?" And he's like, "Yeah, Riverside Produce, Rivers for short." I'm like, "So this isn't Rivers, the clothing store?" And he starts laughing. He says, "No, why would you think that?" And I explained to him what had happened and that I had applied for a job at Rivers and he had called up and he said he was from Rivers. So I came in and thought I was applying for a job at a retail store, but here I am. And he cracks up laughing. He thought it was hilarious. And he said, "Well, you're here anyway. Would you like a job? Do you want to still have the interview?" And I figured, well, I need a job, so yeah, why not? I took the interview and he offered me a job right then and there, and I was still so confused as to how I ended up there because the ad I applied for on Seek specifically said Rivers, the clothing store. It had all the stuff in the brief about how you'd be working at retail, and I thought I'd been scammed. I didn't know what was going on. So I get home and I tell my parents about what had happened, and my dad starts cracking up laughing and he says, "I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, I passed your phone number and name onto one of my friends who coincidentally works at Riverside Vegetables because he knew I was looking for work, but he didn't know at the same time he had done this, I had also applied for a job at Rivers clothing store." So that's what had happened and how I ended up working at this fruit and vegetable factory. I eventually got a job in retail. My first ever retail job technically was at Hugo Boss, but you could also say it was at Toys R Us. So after that experience, I was like, how do I get a job in retail with no experience? Because nobody was willing to hire me without any experience. So I actually went and did a short course in retail, which sounds crazy, but that's how desperate I was for work. And I went and did this short course in retail, which required me to do work experience. So I actually went and worked at Toys R Us for free just to gain experience and somebody that I could put on my resume who could vouch for me, which then led to me getting my first paid job in retail, which was at Hugo Boss. That's how I ended up accidentally working at a vegetable packing factory. Let me know in the comments, what was your first job and your worst job? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.